こんばんは。
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 ああ、ちょっと難しいね。
でも、会話できてるし、話せてるっていうか、内容は言ってることわかるかも。
わかりません。
わかりません。
Hello guys, and welcome back to my channel where I post weekly videos about Japan, the JET program, my experiences and opinions, so if any of that interests you, then be sure to subscribe. So a while ago, Tobi, who you saw in the beginning there, an ALT down in Kyushu, contacted me about taking part in a language challenge. His thinking was that if we were making this video, then that would really be the motivation that we both so desperately needed in order to actually try and learn the language. Motivation has always been my biggest problem when it comes to learning Japanese. So the structure of the challenge is basically that we'd have an initial video chat with Eri-san, Tobi's Japanese friend, talk for as long as we could in Japanese, and predictably, it was not a very long conversation. Study as hard as we could for 2 weeks, give each other like tips and stuff, some catch-ups, and then at the end of the 2 weeks, have another follow-up call with Eri-san where we could see how much longer we could talk for. Our overall goal with this challenge was able to communicate what we're trying to say more easily, whether the grammar is full of mistakes or not. And this is something that I always tell my students at school anyway. It's like, I don't care if you make mistakes, just try, because if I understood what you're trying to tell me, then you successfully communicate. So I want to be able to more easily successfully communicate my thoughts to Japanese people. So I'll play a few clips from our initial call now, which you saw a bit of at the beginning of this video. What I will say is that the subtitles which I made myself, please bear in mind, I'm not fluent in Japanese. I didn't check them with anyone. I just wrote subtitles for what I was trying to say, and it's pretty obvious if and when that is understood. It's not going to be an accurate, direct translation of what I'm saying. I'm sure my Japanese was filled with mistakes. So if you're fluent in Japanese, give me a break. I'm trying. This is a learning experience, okay? Okay, right, here we go.
こんにちは。
こんばんは。
こんばんは。
こんばんは。エリさん、はじめまして。よろしくお願いします。
はじめまして。よろしくお願いします。あなたの名前は何ですか？
私
は
私はヤクブです。
ヤクブ。
ヤクブ。
トビ自己紹介できるかな？
OK です。ニジェリア人です。イギリス人です。唐揚げは一番好きです。エリさんは自己紹介お願いします。
はい。私は日本人です。もちろん。ヤクブさんはマーガレットと友達ですか？
友達、タニャさんはマグズの友達です。トビーさんとマグズ、10月、オイタでトビーとマグズを会いました。
マグズは変なです。ちょっと難しいね。
でも、会話できてるし、話せてるっていうか、内容は言ってることわかるかも。
わかりません。
わかりません。
After our initial call speaking Japanese, Eri-san gave us a list of kind of levels of Japanese, 10 being fluent and 1 being absolute beginner.
Second level is you can introduce yourself. So, Tobi's level is 2. Jakub level is 2.5.
2.5. Yes, I've got that edge.
Yeah.
Alright, colored pens. Big paper. We're officially getting all organized and coordinated. Yay! So when I made my initial plan, it was quite detailed. I wrote like a 2-week sort of calendar type planner where I wanted to write different goals throughout the week. Okay, by Friday I want to have learned 50 verbs. Let's just power through vocab, the boring stuff when I'm the most alert and awake. But new vocabulary for me was key because I understand how to make a basic Japanese sentence, I know the basic structure, but I just don't know many words to put into that structure, so I'm very limited in what I can say. One thing I did was I googled lists of like the 100 most common verbs, adjective, nouns, and picked out the ones which I thought I actually use often or would be useful and stuff like that. And I found that throughout the 2 weeks, what worked the most for me was word association. Naosu means to repair or to fix. Nao is the name of one of my students. Su sounds like if someone's going to sue you legally. So I just picture a really dramatic scene from The Good Wife, a legal drama, and I just picture the main character where she shouts something like, "You better fix this situation." Fix this situation. Or Nao is going to sue your ass. Naosu. To fix. Whenever there was a word which I couldn't think of something to associate it with, I really struggled to memorize those words, so that's how I know that the technique helped me so much. Grammar-wise, the only thing I really looked into was different verb conjugations. The te form, which is pretty common. I don't feel like I need to be able to conjugate them all perfectly. I just want to be aware of the different forms and endings which you can hear, because I think what fucks me up a lot is when I'm listening to Japanese people talk, if they use a verb form which I don't recognize, my brain just goes, "Oh, I don't know this word, what is this word?" And then I miss the rest of everything else they're saying. And then I planned more fun activities throughout the day when I usually lose my kind of motivation and drive to be productive. Watching a Japanese TV show and trying to mimic what the characters are saying. Trying to learn the words to some Japanese music that I know. And with those activities, it's more about being comfortable hearing more natural Japanese. Oh my god. Oh my god. By the way, these activities and stuff I planned are not like well-established learning methods or anything. Like, I just made up a bunch of stuff which I thought was doable, fun, would provide me with motivation. Don't take this as a instructions video on the best way to learn. This is just how I decided I would tackle this. So a week into the challenge, I had a little catch up with Tobi.
Yeah, week one. Fun stuff. Do you know what the Pomodoro method is?
Definitely not.
It's like to exercise self-restraint. The best thing you can do is don't overlearn. Do like an hour a day and stick to that hour. Even if you want to do more, don't do any more, because you just burn yourself out really quickly. You study for like 5 hours over 2 days, and then you don't study again for a week.
You pretty much just described my week there.
My strategy has changed now. I want to be able to talk about things that I'm doing. Right now I've been watching a lot of movies, so I want to talk about the movies, be able to describe the plot. Right now I'm focusing a lot on vocabulary and getting used to listening. I've been doing a lot of active listening practice and like non-active listening practice. So when I'm doing anything, I have just a Japanese movie just running on my speakers. I think it really helps your listening. Even if you don't understand it, you just start to break down the sentence and the words.
And you just get used to the flow of things as well. I think I had a lot of the right ideas, but I just went about them the wrong way for a lot of it, and that just threw me off right at the beginning.
It's pacing yourself. I feel like your hair right now is representing your current feeling about studying Japanese.
I feel like I was so put together in our first group chat, and now I'm just like, hey guys, what's up? Ah!
I think I'm going to take some of your ideas of more crazy word association. I do have a couple of words like that where it's crazy, and I do always remember them. It really stays in your memory when it's just absurd.
I think as well, I'm going to take on board what you said about how you're going to be looking at stuff specifically to talk about what you're doing. I think I'm going to look into words which will help me talk about video editing and YouTube and stuff, so I can talk about that.
That was a really good update. We're going to talk again in a week. Peace.
Bye bye. See you later.
So, as you may have gathered, not done so hot week 1. I basically did day 1 and then that was it. I think Tobi is absolutely right that you need to just plan for smaller amounts each day. I planned so much, it was very daunting and off-putting. So I'm stripping things right back now. I'm going to continue with learning vocabulary. I think that worked. I've got my lists of common words. This week I'm going to write in English about my day or my week or whatever, and just the kind of things that I generally talk about with people when I'm catching up, and I'm going to do my best to translate it into Japanese with the Japanese I already know. Even if it's bad Japanese, then I'm going to look at what I couldn't translate at all and then focus on that, find the vocabulary I need, anything else to be able to express those things. And I don't want to just parrot memorize a paragraph of text about my week. I want to be able to talk about it comfortably. And it's the kind of stuff which you're never going to find in textbooks and things. You're never going to find a Japanese textbook which covers the topic of being a YouTuber or anything like that. As well, motivation wise, I was like, oh, this is actually really useful because I can see myself using this Japanese if I'm like making Japanese friends or if I'm on a date and they don't speak really good English. This is the kind of stuff I can actually use. So doing my best first and then just filling in the blanks, I think that helped a lot. I kind of just did that through the second week. And then our final call with Eri-san came along. If you get bored or you want to skip ahead to just me kind of summarizing the experience and reflecting, then you can skip ahead to here, this point.
こんばんは。
こんばんは。
元気ですか、エリさん？
はい、元気です。
私は映画の日本語見ました。
おー、すごい。
でも、つまらないです。
つまらなかったですか？ヤクブさんは何をしましたか？
日本語の映画とテレビ見ませんが、韓国語テレビ、ロード・トゥ・キングダムを見ました。これは K-POP アイドルグループ、競争です。
K-POP は大嫌い。
大嫌いなの？
BTS と、EXO。
日本に行ってから、たくさん K-POP ライブに行きました。
逆に韓国に留学をしていたときに、留学はわかります？
韓国に行きましたか
？1年間。
1年？
エリさんは、
私が。そう。
韓国行きました。韓国語は、OK です。
OK ですか？
はい。
日本語勉強も、を試した。今週は、明確なトピック勉強をしました。
明確なトピック？どういうトピックを勉強したんですか？
何トピック？
そうです。
私の YouTube チャンネル、はい、すごい仕事をしました。私を忙しする。
日本語勉強するときに、こうやって書くよりも、やっぱりこうやって話す方が楽しいですよね。
レベルを上げました。今日まで、増やしましたか？
レベルアップしたかってこと。5.5 かな？
レベル
もう少しで、
本当に？
本当に本当に。
5?
5.5。
え
レベル6が会話がもう少し長く
明確なトピックで
うん
レベルアップね、が日本語も難しい。エリさん、ありがとうございます。
いえいえ。
ありがとうございます
さよなら。
また頑張ってください。
So in case you just skipped that whole conversation, basically in summary, I did improve, I think. I was able to talk about the topics that I covered kind of flexibly and comfortably enough. I was still hesitating, but that was more out of nerves from actual not knowing. Eri-san gave us a 5 on her little scale, which means we improved a lot. She was just being nice, I think, because if you're arguing that I'm a 5, it's really only for those specific topics rather than as a whole Japanese. But it means I know what I need to do to be at that level, and I just need to expand the topics I can talk about more if I want to maintain that. And just generally the range of what I could talk about, of course, improved. I wasn't just giving myself introduction. So what's the takeaway from all of this? I think it's important to find the techniques that work for you. I really thought that some of the more fun techniques that I planned would work better, but they were just a struggle. One of the biggest takeaways is just don't be afraid to make mistakes. I guess that goes hand in hand with that it is so important to use the Japanese you learn. Before I did that final call, I had no idea if what I learned or not was gonna come through, if it was gonna show any difference since the previous call, because I hadn't actually used any of the Japanese in those 2 weeks. Even though it wasn't a huge increase since the initial call, it was still more than I expected, especially after that first week. Find someone, anyone to practice with. Even if you don't know any Japanese people, find another ALT who's also learning that you can practice with each other, because you don't need to know if you're 100% correct, you just need to be understood. So yeah, I hope you guys got something out of this video. If you did find this video useful, or if you enjoyed it, please give it a like, and if you want to see more content, then please do subscribe, and I will see you guys next week. Okay, bye bye.